How you doing, guys? It's David here at Casino Quest. For the last couple months, I've been working with Jeremy at Color Up on a new series where I teach him all about dice from the perspective of the dealer. So we've been going over everything you need to know, like the shooter rules and playing the pass line, the don't pass, the order of operations, all those tricks and secrets of being a dealer and things that you could learn as a player to improve your game. So we look forward to joining you here on Casino Quest or at Casino Quest. And of course, don't forget, these videos will also be available on Color Up's channel. So make sure to subscribe there and here as well. Now we're gonna go over the tools of the trade. I'm gonna introduce sort of the tools. Obviously you use a lot of these tools if you have a craft table to work with, but we're gonna break them down and give you a chance to ask questions about that and kind of give you a little deeper understanding. So here, this is the puck. Obviously it's on or off. Most people, when it starts here in the DC or somewhere left of the table, that is sort of the, we come in on roll, as you know, but the off and on imply a default status to the bets. So that helps the dealer sort of understand what the players understand what the default status of the bets is. Default status off, and when it's on the number, default status is on. Where the puck is establishes sort of where in the game you are. If you're on a number, you're on the 9, obviously. That's the point of 9. You need 9 before 7. And then now your bets are working. Now your bets are on. So big hint, I call this game number 1 kind of thing, the main game, betting on the shooter, that type of thing. So there is that. And the puck is pretty standard. This is actually the same thing. There's some pucks that are smaller, bigger, but I've never
always
seen
them black and white.
And they're always black and white.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never seen them anything else besides this.
So I've always said or taught, this is when you buy in. If you see it off and over here,
exactly.
The game is basically over.
That's right.
And it's going to restart soon.
Yep. So if you see this here, exactly, that's the best time to buy in. Put your money on the table. You can buy in. The casino's never going to stop you from buying in. And we'll get to. They always want your money. But clearly, if you want some etiquette on the game and you don't want to interrupt, the other players, what's going on.
Yeah. If it's, I guess,
on a number,
other players could get upset with you. This is what kind of we run into as players. That,
yes.
We're dropping our money, so now they got to count it or give you chips.
And we have a procedure for that, by the way, as far as dealers go. So we want the dealers to push back the money and sort of wait. You want to focus on the players you have at the table first, because God forbid you take that money, you interrupt, you're in the middle of paying, and then you interrupt what you're doing, you lose track, and you also, it's rude, right? Because you're supposed to focus. These players are waiting for their action. You come in the middle of a hand. But it is what it is. A table gets yelling and exciting, and people want to jump on and buy in, and it is what it is. Okay, so there's the puck.
And I know.
Go ahead.
I just recently learned from, I believe, your channels. This is like the first and the last thing that you guys do.
Yes. So the first and the last thing.
The very first thing you is mark it, and then after you it's paid or whatever, lost, everything's done. And then it's flipped over.
Then you flip over. Because that way, as long as this is marked, you know that there's something to do. So let's say on a 7 out, as long as you still have this open, there's still stuff to do. You're not done. Once this is off, now everyone knows you're done, reset, the game is reset, you can buy in, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I've just started implementing that in my videos, because I did it like, I'd put it over and then I wouldn't make mistakes, but from you guys I've learned, last thing you do and now I'm done.
And it's a good, this is the reminder, it's a big clue for everybody, for the dealer, for the players, it's a big clue, you know what I'm saying? That's the other thing, so we're gonna wanna we'll get to that in a minute, but you guys, I know you guys use the center, you'll see a lot of content use the center of the table, you know what I mean, when this is out.
Me, I always thought it was there. Is that a real thing?
That is a real thing, yeah. So where this puck is, it matters. Coming here, coming from left to right, and then from second base right to left, right? So we start with it here. Okay. The next part of the game, let's go to the bowl. Here we go, we have a bowl. So a lot of casinos now have a clear bowl, so everyone can see the dice moving in and out of the bowl. It's just a very little plastic bowl. It's kept flush with the table. The stick person uses it to collect the dice, keep the dice. If a die is rolled, if you're in the middle of the roll, so the dealers are instructed to keep the dice flush inside the bowl, right? So the idea is if you're rolling and one of them should go in the bowl, you know which one is the errant die in case the person says same die. That's the only reason. So if they say same die, you know the one die that you need to collect and move out of the bowl.
Okay.
Dealers are not supposed to hand carry the dice from the bowl onto the table. You're supposed to use the bowl to dump the dice because the casino doesn't want you to interact. They want the dealers to interact as little as possible with the dice themselves. So that way the players know it's a fair game. that somehow the dealers didn't. I mean, and
no funny business, but
no funny business.
Because all of us players think you guys are cheating us somehow.
Oh my God, I have so many stories about that, by the way.
For another video,
but yeah. So like, this comes back from when sort of some of these rules are just back from the day when
you might legitimately cheat us.
Yes.
Okay,
so when there might have been, we've seen the movies where they switch the dice or something like this. So at least in this case, you have a clear bowl. You have all these sort of rules in play where the dealers don't interact with the dice as much. You know what I mean? They use the stick. They have to obviously collect the dice, put them back in the bowl. But once they're in the bowl, the next procedure is to dump the bowl, that type of thing. So yeah. So luckily we've moved on. Now it's corporates. So they're happy to have a fair game. Mm-hmm. And as we know, dice is a tough game.
Yeah.
Hard. Casinos love it. Yeah. Come in, get your buffet coupon, lose $1,000. Yeah. You know what I mean? Easy. All right. The next part is the stick. So this is a cheap $20 stick because we have students who go through these sticks very often. But
they break them?
They break them, yeah. So this is breakable. We actually had a student recently. You know who you are, Larry. Yeah. So he thought this was an actual stick that's on a table. So the sticks that are on the table are $200 to $400 a piece. They're not cheap. Yeah, they're very expensive. So they're made of like a mahogany or cherry. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest. I should find out exactly. But they'll bend quite a bit. They're very bendable. It's hard to break them, really, really hard. In fact, what you'll find is more often they break at the tip here, right here at the shoe part of it, because this area gets really thin. But you're as a dealer, you're really supposed to push down. That's how you get the dice to move. Interestingly, as hard as you think this is to learn how to be a dealer,
that's a whole art. Right?
Moving the dice on a table is not easy. If you were to pick up this stick right now, you have,
I have, but I'm very awkward. I understand.
Yeah, it's tough, especially considering you start with 5 dice. You have to push them out in a row. You have all these things on the table, all the obstacle course. You follow? Mm-hmm. And now you're moving these dice to the table. You don't want to interfere with the dealers. It's not easy. And so we have a whole sort of course on dice control, managing the stick, that kind of thing. But here, this stick is a cheap stick, and we use them, we replace them because the dealers break them, or our students break them. But anyways, typically these sticks are expensive.
Okay. Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, $200 because we wanted to buy like a couple authentic, and
just wasn't worth the investment.
It wasn't worth the investment. Yeah. No, realistically. Okay, so. The next thing is you'll notice on the game there's lots of these lammers or buttons for different things, obviously. Depending on, there's always off and on buttons. Mm-hmm. And then you have lays, buy buttons. These sort of work on both sides. Some casinos now, the lay button is a thing, but they auto buy, so they don't have buy buttons anymore. Okay. So like they'll, $10 station casinos, for example, start some of the auto buys at $10, some of them are $20, so no longer buy. But you'll also notice that we don't have them on these tables. They'll have like a marker play. So let's say you come up to the table, you want $10,000. There'll be a $10,000 button they can put out. That'll come from the podium. So what it does is it shows the camera that someone's about to get a marker for $10,000.
Okay.
And then the process is, depending on the casino, be a little different. Some casinos, once that button hits the layout, the box person, supervisor can instruct the dealer to send out money. Other casinos now want a signature first. They go over, they get a signature for the check and the receipt of the money, before they let that player. Because now imagine you put that $10,000 marker, guy gets checks, and boop. You know what I mean? You know who he is, but it complicates the process. So now
I've seen those markers, but I had no clue. Are they used for anything else, or just basically?
Pretty much that. Now sometimes they'll be used to represent maybe a credit that's coming onto the game. So for example, if you come up with high value checks. It's $20,000 in checks, or let's say $4,000 or $5,000 checks, for example, and those are about to be credited off the game. Different casinos have different policies. Okay. Keep in mind, everything is playing not just to the supervisor, but also to cameras. So however they want to sort of demonstrate to everybody that what's being done, any money that moves through a game has to be accounted for in real time. So they also have these little number lammers that the box person on a game. So let's say you come in even $20. If you have active box person, you'll see them take a lammer and move it to another tube. That's representing your $20 buy-in. So what happens is during the shift boss will come over to the box person or supervisor, or maybe just a pit manager, doesn't have to be a shift manager, and they'll say, hey, what's your drop at? The box person's supposed to know how much cash approximately is in the box. And then they can look at, okay, this is what the bank has. Mm-hmm. If my bank started at $100,000, I got 20,000 checks out. but I have a $20,000 drop, I'm about even. You follow?
Okay.
So over the course of a shift, 8-hour shift, the supervisor keeping track of, you know what I mean? You know, what money has it approximately. It's not exact.
Have a good idea.
A good idea. Okay. And it's pretty close. Like that, they track it right down to $20 bills in most cases.
I was going to say, I'll never need a big button, but now, I guess I do. Yeah. With my $200 buy-in, they want to.
Yeah. So what they'll move over 2 100s. You know what I'm saying? So what they do is they keep track of the 20s. They'll have 4 20s. Once they get to the 5th 20, obviously 100. Mm-hmm. Once they get to the the 10th 100, it moves over 1,000. You follow? Mm-hmm. And they sort of build out those lammers so they know sort of what the table is. The other thing they keep track of is the blacks. The blacks that go out in the game is very important. The dealer and the box person, because once you get to this denomination or $100 checks, these have to be tracked and called into the cage. Almost every casino will track from black and higher. Greens, not so much, unless you leave with a ton of them. And that's what we get to next. So let's introduce the checks real quick.
Okay.
So here we have for our students, we remove the values because we want students to learn how to use units and colors. Units and colors is how you play, how you deal high limit game. You don't want to get the numbers stuck. Believe it or not, as much as there's a math in play, we try to move our students away from the math because once you get the higher limit checks, it's easier to go with the colors and units. And I'm going to work with you on that too, by the way. That's going to be part of this course.
That's one of the big things I need.
It's going to make it so much easier.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So much easier. All right, so whites, grays,
or blue,
blues.
Right? Okay, yeah.
Blues,
gray.
yes.
I got a gray. I collected a gray yesterday.
Whites, grays, or blues, typically $1 checks. Mm-hmm. It changes. It can be all sorts of things. Reds, greens, blacks, reds 5, greens 25, blacks 100. Interestingly, there have been some casinos that have switched these over the years, but that's no longer a thing. So this is actually pretty modernized. All over the world, these 3 colors are the same. The red, the green, and the black, almost everywhere. It's I don't know of any casino. There was a casino in Reno that still had them switch, but that's since changed. Red, green, and black. Part of that is because some of these checks are shared between casinos. If you play at the Bellagio one day, bring a couple red over to, let's say, the Wynn, they'll accept them. They know what the checks are. Yes.
Okay.
So like, but if, you know what I mean? If they're switched, it makes it confusing, by the way. Okay.
I can get
so that. Green 25, but yeah, imagine that. They walk in green, you're giving them all green. And then, no, those are only 5s. You're like, whoa. All right. Greens, blacks, 100. Okay. This is where purples, we call them purples. So purple's $500. But not everywhere. Some is a little different. Some have a little kind of rainbow purple thing going on. It just really depends. Now, yellow, in my experience, here, let's put these in so they're all on camera. Yellows are called, we call them bananas, and they're typically $1,000 checks. This is actually pretty standard color most places.
Okay, because I always thought pumpkin and they were orange. Is that?
Orange, yeah, so orange, there's a lot of those too. Yeah, that's true. So not as standard, but yeah, so pumpkins,
that's
oranges.
That's my goal. I
really?
got orange and pumpkin. Yeah,
pumpkin? Because you're in Colorado, right? So that's like a more...
Yeah, we don't... It's impossible because we have $100
yeah, that'd be tough.
Limit,
wow, that'd be quite the
to get a pumpkin would be something.
Wow. And then we have, beyond that, there's the $5,000 checks, which are chocolates. Here in Vegas, it's chocolates, but those can change, obviously quickly. From there, it goes up in value depending on the casino. So the highest circle checks here in Las Vegas are $100,000 checks. And the Mansion, MGM Mansion has them, probably Aria, 70 the Floor has them. So there's a few places that will still have $100,000 checks in play, and those colors are their own, okay?
Yeah.
So once you get to 100 and higher nowadays, in some cases, they have the RFID, they have the new tech that tags the checks as yours. So let's say you're a high value player, you go up to the cage, you buy it for $100,000, that's your $100,000. If you were to drop that or lose that, it's tracked. Those are tracked now. So if someone picks them up outside the casino, $5,000 check, they go to redeem it, they can't redeem it, they know that that's not that player.
At what level and up?
It really depends on the casino.
What they decide.
But my guess now is of course I haven't gotten to these limits quite as much. I've only been involved in the conversations.
Okay.
But like 500s, 1000s, these types of checks typically have the new tech. You know what I mean? Especially $100,000. I mean, those are those are yours. You can drop those, do whatever you want with them, but those are yours. I've been in a case where someone tried to redeem a $5,000 check from a different casino, and they will, by the way. They don't want to run you off as a player. If you're a high value player, they might offer to run that check over. They'll redeem it for you. It depends.
Gotcha.
So like if you come up to a table,
they want to verify that it's yours.
They want to verify you're the guy. You know what I mean?
Okay, that makes sense.
It seems silly. This person actually went to the casino cage and it was like, oh yeah, it's my check. I just came from wherever they came came from. And clearly they're like, no, it's not your check. And the police are right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's an introduction number 1 to table mechanics or table inventory. How about that? Equipment that the dealer uses. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Moving on to the next, our next lesson.
Sounds good.
All right.